We're counting down to the live. Welcome everybody at home. My name is Michael Loftus. We're at the America First Warehouse in beautiful Rocktown. If you're just tuning in, I just did some of the funniest jokes that these people have ever heard. Sorry that you missed it at home. It was magic. It was magic. I love the fact that we're getting together for events like this. I love that we're finding each other on the conservative side of things, the real America First movement, which we just got to get louder and louder about America First. I don't have faith in the GOP. And I tell you, you know who else doesn't have faith? They're destroying America one bit at a time. Even the liberals don't have faith anymore. You got this Bob Menendez guy, right? Gold bars, Mercedes, and cash. And they're like, why'd you have the cash and the gold bars? And he's like, I remember in Cuba, when the government would come in and take your money. So I wanted to hide that money. And then the government came in and took his fucking money. It's hilarious. He's got so much faith in the American dollar that he got his money in gold. That's crazy. I don't know if he's expecting a pirate attack or what the hell's going on. We started off as a sad day. Dianne Feinstein passed away. But don't worry, she's still planning on voting in the next 12 elections. She just has to register in Chicago. Okay. You're probably wondering what this is all about. We got Scott LoBaido here. This is great. Thank you for that. I just got some printer ink. That's what I'm going to put my printer ink on my lapel because evidently that's very important that we take care of that now. Probably best that we do this now. That we just bring everything to a grinding halt. That's awesome. Thank God we did that. I could have exploded. Ladies and gentlemen, the easel, there's going to be painting. Scott LoBaido is going to be up here. I don't know if you've probably seen his Instagrams, you've seen his videos. If you haven't seen this dude paint, you are in for a treat. Scott LoBaido is such a force of nature and such a strong voice, and he's not a Johnny-come. He's been doing this for decades too. Just like Rudy Giuliani's been fighting the good fight for decades, so is Scott LoBaido. Scott has a film coming out that we're all going to support. We're going to make sure this is a #1 box office hit. I think we've got the trailer. I'd like to show the trailer now for Scott's movie. So let's go ahead and check that out on the big screen.
11-month-old girl shot in the face because of woke, criminal-loving district attorneys.
Come on, murderer. This is a street performance.
Seems like all the artist activists are on the left. Except for Scott LoBaido.
I do not conform to the elitist isms of the art clubs, and they have left me like a redheaded stepchild. This is my medium in which I shall create, and this is my canvas, the front of the Brooklyn Museum.
The first most important thing in school, or anywhere else, is the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is not a pro-war protest. This has to do with the increasing level of anti-Americanism.
Now lock them up.
They don't keep the criminals in jail. They're not gonna keep you in jail.
This line is to show respect and honor to those who died, got shot in the fucking head, protecting us. You try to take that fucking blue line down. I'll paint it till the day I die.
When the towers came down, there was absolutely no doubt that feeling, it was gonna change my life. And it did.
When somebody's complaining, it's so cold out, you know, the traffic. And here I am, drinking with one of these guys who's got one arm, he's got a hook for another arm, and he's drinking a fucking beer, having a laugh with me, and he's not bitching about nothing.
I present to you the recipient of this year's VFW Americanism Award, Mr. Scott LoBaido.
That's it. I'm gonna paint a flag on a rooftop in every state near a military base.
As a veteran, we all fought for that flag in World War II. And today, we want to see it flying.
They will never, as long as I am alive, they will never take the American flag down. You want to burn one? Then I will find out where you work,
and I will find a building across the street and paint a flag 50 by 100 so you have to see it every fucking day.
A pro-Trump sign on the front lawn of his Staten Island home was burned to the ground.
The hate I get is astronomical. If everybody liked me, I'd be doing something wrong. My mother's advice, whatever you do with your life, as long as you believe it in your heart and always take care of those less fortunate. My father's advice was, son, take from nobody.
This is about control and division.
We must unite. We must take a stand. Are you ready? Live, right, live.
God didn't give me a gun and a bayonet. He gave me paint and brush, and I will fight to the fucking death for this country.
Get on up, get on up, get on up, right, live.
In the house, Giuliani is here, and the very one and only Scott LoBaido is here. Let's get him on stage and make some noise, you wacky patriots.
Here you go, buddy. Do what up.
Am I using this mic right here? Right? This one too, both of them? All right. I'm gonna do this really quick. We all know why we're here, right? It's a fundraiser, right? It's a fundraiser for our buddy. All right? Our buddy who was there for us throughout 9/11, cleaned up the greatest city in the world. We owe him a lot of shit. And this is the least we can do. So I'm gonna do this speed painting here, one of my favorite speed paintings. And then we're gonna auction it off. There's a website that Joe has set up. And we're gonna go online and we're gonna auction it off. And whatever we get for this, the proceeds go to help our best friend, Mr. Giuliani.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies.
How the hell do you do that?
How
do you do that?
For purple mountains, majesty, all of the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee. I'm crowned by good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for nature dream that sees beyond the years. My alabaster sings me, amid my human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on me, and
What's he doing now? Wow. Gosh almighty, how did he do that? It's amazing. Yeah. I'm gonna go up. I'll have to go on. Okay. You want to take a picture for you? Yeah, come on, thank you. All right, thank you. Be careful of that. How about a hug? How did you do that?
You're going to sign it.
Okay.
It's going to bring in more money.
All right.
Which is not as famous as yours.
Okay. All right. Let's go over it. All right. All right. Okay. My, oh my. Scott. I can't believe that he did that.
You know, there's a beautiful one right behind you.
I see that. Well. Good evening. And welcome to America's Mayor Live. And we're live at the America First warehouse in the middle of Long Island, in Ronkonkoma, Long Island. Hopefully we'll get a few shots of this beautiful surrounding. But I was just treated to a beautiful painting done by Scott LoBaido. You all know Scott. Hopefully he'll come up here shortly. Right here? But he did the painting in the space of America the Beautiful. And that was the length of time that he had to do the painting. And painting of me, very flattering actually. I don't know how he does that. I mean, I watched him do it, and then all of a sudden, just right on time, he's got it absolutely created. And of course, Scott has been doing this for some time, and it's a wonderful thing that he does because America is, I think it's fair to say, is in a very dispirited period of time. Every poll certainly reflects that. I don't think I'm the only one. I don't think I'm the only one to reflect that. You look at these polls, and 60%, 70% think America's going in the wrong direction. The disapproval numbers for Biden go up and up. 2/3 of Americans think he's mentally incompetent to be president. I don't know if we've ever had a situation where over a majority of the American people think the commander-in-chief is not mentally fit to be a commander-in-chief, and then somewhere near the same number think he's not morally fit to be commander-in-chief because he's a crook. It's a terrible time for America. There's great fear that we're going to lose our rights and our liberties. We have lost some already. There's no question they call it euphemistically a two-tier system of justice. You know, one set of rules for one group and another set of rules for another. So someone like Donald Trump is indicted 4 times for things we can't even figure out what they are, much less crimes. And then the Biden family, you know, has taken in $30-40 million from China, from Ukraine, from Russia. They're not even investigated. So there's no doubt there are two systems of justice. You see, that's a Democrat euphemism. When there are two systems of justice, there is no justice. Justice requires equal treatment. The minute there's not equal treatment, you're living in a fascist type government, which is exactly the kind of government we're living in. The regime in power, the Biden regime, wants to maintain its power so that it can continue to, well, among other things, make money. And they've done the kind of things that happen not only in third world countries, but in communist countries, Nazi countries, fascist countries. They've indicted their leading opponent, not once, not twice, not 3 times. They've indicted him 4 times so that he'll be, if they have their way, on trial for all of next year so that he can't run for president. So although you, the American people, at the latest poll, by a majority, want him to be president, and he's ahead of the incompetent criminal in the White House by 10%, you're not going to be allowed to have him as president because the Biden regime is going to incapacitate him. That's what they're attempting to do. That's a democracy? Mm-mm. That's America? No, sir. That's some other country. Some other country we used to have nightmares about. This is what we thought the Soviets would do to us. But you know, it took the Chinese to really figure out how to do it. Maybe they're smarter than the Soviets, I don't know. But they've infiltrated us a hell of a lot better. Doesn't take much of a genius to figure out they own our president. Cost them a fair amount of money to do it. Not as if they gave him the cheap little bribes he used to get when he went around trailer camps in Delaware and picked up money. That's when he was a young senator, and his brothers would take anything they could get for him to sell out. Now he takes big money from some of the worst criminals in the world and some of our biggest enemies. And then he goes about selling out the country. And for some reason, we seem kind of patient with it. I'll give you one example that should have led to his being impeached, thrown out, and by now indicted and put in jail. And that's when he left Afghanistan. He gave up the Bagram Air Base. The Bagram Air Base was one of our most newly modernized air bases, one of our most capable, one of our most effective, and an air base that was battle ready because it was used constantly during the war in Afghanistan. But that's not the reason why it was of great critical importance. It was exactly 400 miles from China. Now, I don't think I have to explain to you the critical importance in an era of air war, missile war, the importance of proximity. I mean, even way back with the Cuban Missile Crisis, what was President Kennedy worried about? He was worried about the Russians having missiles 90 miles from America. Well, we had missiles 400 miles from China, which means we could have attacked them in a moment's notice and they would not have been ready and able to deal with it, whereas they have to cross an ocean to get to us. Can you imagine any president of the United States who was loyal to this country giving it up, except if we lost a war? Well, Joe Biden gave it up, got nothing in return. He also left a bonus for the Taliban, $85 billion of arms, making the Taliban the best armed terrorist force in the world. They've since used those arms to kill Americans and to kill Afghan citizens who helped to save American lives, because we were at war with them for 20 years. And from the point of view of the Taliban, these people were traitors. From the point of view of the United States, they were people who were loyal to us. And every other American president before this thing we put in the White House got there, every other American president had the rule that we don't leave our men behind. Well, or women. Well, we left behind our people, and we left behind the people who helped our people. I don't know who's going to help us in the future. But in giving up the Bagram Air Base, he did something that is totally unexplainable. Why would you give up an air base 400 miles from China? Is it possible that he was influenced by the $21 million that was paid to his family in the 5 years leading up to that decision, which is only a fraction of the money that he actually got, but it's the fraction we can prove unequivocally right now? I mean, is it even a doubt in your mind that that's the reason? Giving up an air base 400 miles from China? Someday an American president is going to curse him for doing that. Maybe that won't happen, hopefully. But it might. The chance of a war with China is a reality. That reality existed when this, whatever you call them, gave up our air base in China. I don't know what you call that. You call that the act of a traitor. But the worst part is nothing happens as a result of it. No one's shocked. No one's upset. No one demands that he be removed. No one demands that he be impeached. They finally got around to one hearing on impeachment. He's committed so many crimes, it would take like 5 years to impeach him. The hard drive that I have in my house, which comes from Hunter Biden's laptop, which the idiot is suing me for, saying it's his alleged laptop. You see, it can't be his alleged laptop, and then it's either his laptop or it's not his laptop. Sorry, Hunter. It's either your laptop or it's not your laptop. You don't have standing to sue for an alleged laptop. But it sure looks like your laptop. I can't imagine there are too many people as perverted as you are in Delaware, because I saw the pictures on that laptop. And wow, you are one sick guy. You're also a major criminal. But I actually have a little bit of sympathy for you, because probably when you were about 17 or 18, it would have emerged you had an addictive personality. And your absolute creep of a father put you in a business. I knew mafia guys that wouldn't do that to their sons. You take an addictive personality and you make him a bagman in an international bribery scheme? Do you know the people that Hunter Biden dealt with in the last 30 years? Most of them were murderers. Most of them were members of organized crime. You've now heard the name of Zlochevsky, who told the FBI confidential informant that he paid $10 million, 5 to Joe Biden and 5 to Hunter Biden. Zlochevsky is a member of Ukrainian organized crime. Zlochevsky, well, yeah, he gave $5 million to the big guy and $5 million to the little guy. And then the little guy gives 50% of what he earns to the big guy also, which they never tell you. Later on, if you want, you can come and read it. If you don't trust me, but here's the text right here. This is him to his daughter, January 3rd, 2019, 7:39 p.m. I love all of you, but I don't receive any respect. You know, sounds like Rodney Dangerfield, right? But I don't receive any respect. And that's fine, I guess. Works for you, apparently. I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard. But don't worry. Unlike Pop, the big guy, Joe, what are the other ones? Mr. Pierce? Let's go, Brandon. What? Brandon. Yeah. Stupid moron. You know, names like that. But unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary. Not 10%. 50% for Joe. 50% for Joe. This is Hunter. You see what you call this? You call this here evidence. This Congressman Raskin, this is what they call evidence. They apparently didn't teach you this in law school. This is evidence. You see, if we have a trial, this goes in as Exhibit A, and it's considered to be evidence from a co-conspirator. In other words, the bag man is explaining the scheme. The scheme is he collects the money, he pays all the expenses, and he gives you 50%. And then he just distributes the rest to the other people who are in the RICO enterprise, which is virtually the whole family. They get the money, and you actually even describe in another text what it's for. You said we have only one asset. It's true. Why would the Chinese give you 20 million? For a crack pipe? For lessons in pornography? What would they give you money for? You said you have one asset. The big guy. And it isn't him, it's his two offices. Senator, President. In other words, you sold them to our enemy. Now, the worst part of it is that you're walking around making a fool out of us. I'm going off on Air Force One, having a great time. Your father's traveling around the world. He admittedly has trouble walking up and down the stairs. They've now shortened the stairs. I can't figure out how they shortened the stairs of Air Force One. What are they bringing him up? They bring him through the cargo hold? I want somebody to put up their hand who has ever seen anyone fall down going up the stairs. You did? No, oh, no, except for Joe. I honestly, I have never seen. I've seen people fall down going down the stairs. Probably done it myself. But fall down going up the stairs? 3 times. And nobody came to help him. Must have a heck of a relationship with his wife. Has she once gone to help him? He finishes the speech, he gets up, and nobody comes to help him. I work for President Reagan, and I've spent 3 years in and out of the White House with President Trump as his lawyer, and even was in the White House with Bill Clinton. Never at those times you're thinking about, but anytime a president has difficulty, right? People run up and help him. I can think of one occasion in which we were in Nevada, then candidate Trump and I, and there was an incident with a guy they thought had a gun. Within seconds, the Secret Service grabbed him, protected everybody. This guy walks around, he doesn't know where he is. And, you know, when he fell down, they didn't even help him get up. Well, I don't know if she's a good wife. She's a hell of a step-grandmother to that poor kid. That poor kid, she puts out 6 Christmas stockings and leaves the 7th one out so the kid can be traumatized for the rest of her life. Oh, and she's a teacher. But she's a good friend of the Communist Teachers Union. That's the kind of teacher she is. And she sure is a heck of a kind step-grandmother. She really thinks about the kind of damage she might be doing to that child by not putting out a Christmas stocking for her and excluding her from the family. Nice stepmom. This is a terrible family. He's a terrible president, and our country reflects it in every respect. And that means that we can't make a mistake. We don't have room anymore for a mistake. We have got to defeat him. The only person I believe that can replace him is Donald Trump. And I believe that for a very practical reason. Some of the others are well, before the debate the other night, I thought some of the others could be president. I did. Ted, are you around here anywhere? I used to tell you that all the time. But after I called it the single digit debate. To get in the debate, you had to have less than 10%. If you had more than 10%, they didn't want you because, I don't know, you might win. So in the single digit debate, I started to think that maybe none of them are ready to be president. Interrupting each other, yelling at each other. I couldn't understand what they were talking about. Vivek, I like Vivek. I just think he's a little young. So he maybe could be a president 10 years from now. But he needs time. I also thought it was ridiculous when he brought up the fact that we should give some thought to the fact that Ukraine is corrupt. And then the former governor of South Carolina and Mr. Pence, that was the most excited I've ever seen him. They must have given him something. Usually when I would see him in the White House, he was yawning. But he was really excited. Wow. He was all excited about protecting Ukraine. We should get that excited about protecting the U.S. But they were going nuts on Vivek when Vivek said, not that we shouldn't help the Ukrainian people, but that we should keep in mind the fact that the Ukrainian government is corrupt. It is. It was considered just a year ago the second most corrupt government in the world, Russia being the most corrupt. I don't know. I know Ukraine really well. It is really corrupt. Zelensky, the president, who is a big hero, his mentor is the owner of the biggest bank in Ukraine, called the Privat Bank. Well, that's the legitimate bank. There's a second Privat Bank, which is the biggest money laundering bank, maybe in the world. He is an expert money launderer. He is so good that even Russians who hate Ukrainians use him because he's so good. He's one of the biggest criminals in Ukraine. Mr. Zelensky's mentor. Zelensky wouldn't have been on television, wouldn't have the couple of mansions that he has if Kolomoisky didn't take him and put him on a television show. And then Kolomoisky was exiled from Ukraine. And as soon as Zelensky won, the crook was brought back. And the crook is now in Ukraine with his friend Zelensky. I'm sure, I mean, the only thing he knows how to do is launder money. He probably does it in his sleep. He could tell you, for example, where all the Biden laundered money is. So could Zelensky. Zelensky could tell you about all of the other crimes that Biden committed that aren't on the Hunter laptop that I got a copy of, because Ukraine's got everything on them. And they got them by the you-know-what. I don't see how Biden can refuse them anything. They put out the other pictures. I don't see how he can refuse China. You don't think they have every single thing Biden has ever done? You don't think Biden doesn't know that? Well, he probably doesn't remember it anymore. So how can this man represent us? How can he fight for us? China owns him. I mean, they actually bought him. Ukraine, he was involved in a bribery crime at the highest levels of both governments. Did you ever think that if Biden was paid $10 million by Zlochevsky to fix the case ultimately was fixed at the order of the president of the Ukraine? Did you ever consider that, of course, the president of the Ukraine got his cut? So if you reveal the Biden crime, we're going to have to find out how much money the president of the Ukraine got for selling out the case. And how about the other people that were involved in it? I am told by Ukrainian police that are honest, and a lot of the citizens in Ukraine are honest. It's the government that's dishonest. What's happening to them is a tragedy. These are very good people. They're educated, they're decent people, they're God-fearing people, and they are controlled by a totally corrupt government. Some Russian-oriented, some saying they're Ukrainian nationalists. But they're all crooks, the Russian ones and the Ukrainian nationalist ones. And it isn't that one is a bigger crook than the other. They're all big crooks. And the people suffer. When we give money to Ukraine, Biden refuses to include any kind of auditing with it. He doesn't provide that there has to be an audit of that money on a periodic basis. So he's giving money to the second most corrupt country in the world, presumably to fight their war. He has to know that not all that money is going to reach where it's supposed to go. That would be the first time in the history of Ukraine that happened. But he doesn't do anything to protect the money, so that his friends there can, without too much detection, dip in the pot and pull out what they would like. And Zelensky doesn't seem to care either. So the point that Vivek was making is a very valid one for us to consider. How are we going to help them but not play into their corruption? And he was shouted down by two Republicans the way Democrats shout you down. Don't think the corruption in Ukraine is limited to Democrats. If you do, you're being naive. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Thank you. Don't forget, $11 a month, T2T.org, Tunnel to Towers. Take care of our heroes, huh? Our real heroes, the ones that put their lives at risk for us. Not the... Also, you have to have your fruits and vegetables. You have to have lots of fruits and vegetables. We take all these supplements to make up for the fact that we don't have enough fruits and vegetables. How about we make sure we have our fruits and vegetables? So I have a little arrangement with my friends, my audience. We have a little toast together. They're having their fruits and vegetables, balance of nature now, and we toast each other. Here they are. And listen, if you get it down to about half, get the bottle down to about half, makes a great meringue. Balanceofnature.com, promo code Rudy, 35% off. And on the little travel one, $25 off. You better get the travel one for Christmas. All right. So, how many listened to the debate the other night, the Republican debate? Two people? Two people. Oh, one person. Are you just not admitting it? You're embarrassed. You're embarrassed to say that you listened to a single-digit debate. I'll tell you what. They took a poll afterwards. Somebody got 67%. It was Trump. You know what this next guy got? DeSantis was the biggest thing that happened to him in 2 months. He got to 10%. He did. He got to 10%. He was so excited. He hasn't seen 10% in 2 months. So Trump had 67%, and he had 10%. What are they running for? Why don't they all just get together and help us beat Biden? Isn't there too much at stake for all this fooling around? I mean, our free speech, our right of free speech is at stake. Our right to have fair trial. You think they intend? I mean, it's totally absurd to have indicted him 4 times so that he's on trial all of next year for things that we can't even figure out what he did. So he's on trial for disputing the election. When did anybody ever go on trial for disputing an election? Nobody. I mean, we've been disputing elections forever. He's on trial for disputing an election. He's on trial because he made a settlement with two people that were suing him, who he says are lying. They say they're telling the truth, but they settled the case. I've settled 1,000 cases with a non-disclosure agreement. All of a sudden, it becomes a crime for Trump. He's the only guy ever to be tried for something like that. Plus, I think it happened 140 years ago. I mean, it's ridiculous. It happened so far back. The one that really gets me is the one who says that she was raped at Bergdorf's in the dressing room. Well, that's a really smart thing to do. Yeah, one of the most recognizable men in New York walks into Bergdorf's, sees this woman, takes her up to the tiny little dressing room where there's a dressing room right next to it and rapes her. I mean, he would have to be a total nut. He'd have to be as perverted as the Biden family to do something like that. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. It's physically impossible. So I knew him when that happened. Too bad I wasn't with him that day, but we don't know. If I might have been with him that day because she can't give a date. She has it spanned out over a year and a half. What does that mean? That means if she gave a date and I were in California, I'd be able to clear myself, right? So she doesn't give a date because she's a damn liar. She can't remember when she got raped. Did it happen that often? That she can't remember the date that she got raped in Bergdorf's by one of the most famous men in the world? And she can't remember the date. So this is the kind of junk that they're doing. These aren't crimes. I was a prosecutor. I actually prosecuted people for crimes. Things like Biden has done, taking bribes from the wife of the mayor of Moscow. Now that sounds nice, the mayor of Moscow's wife. Madame Buterin is about as cold and organized criminal as any male in Russia. Her husband, because Putin didn't want him around anymore, resigned, and shortly thereafter he passed on. And she became even richer. I'm not saying anything. You know, I'm not making any accusations, but I don't think I'd cross Madame Buterin. And she's one of Putin's best friends. She just happened to give them 3.5 million, just for the hell of it. She also happens to be one of the few oligarchs in Russia that doesn't have any sanctions. I guess, 3.5 million gets you off the sanction list. So what I'm trying to tell you is they like to say that, well, Biden didn't do anything in return for this. Well, I know he gave up an Air Force base that was one of our most critical in the world. He took her off the sanctions list. The case against his son and Zlochevsky in Ukraine was thrown out. The prosecutor will come here and testify under oath and say that Joe Biden did it. That's also evidence, right? But they didn't even bother to interview him. I'm the only one to have met him. I went to Ukraine. I interviewed him. You can go to my podcast. You can go to number 3, and you'll see Mr. Shokin and I having a very long conversation about how Biden bribed the president of Ukraine in order to dismiss the case against Biden's son and Mr. Zlochevsky. But the FBI won't interview him, even though he's the direct witness to the bribe. So I will now take another short break. And when we come back, we're going to have Scott LoBaido explain to us how the heck he does that in 8 minutes. All right? Thank you.
The year is 2022. Cancel culture is the new normal. Online freedom, as we know it, has ended. Digital stockades are here. All activity is monitored, stored, and predictively analyzed by a technological cartel. We're being converted into a digital resource, a digital currency to be farmed for metadata and loaded into a computerized combine, blockchained to a social engineering operating system. However, it doesn't have to be this way. Be part of a new technological revolution. Right now, 1,000 test pilots have launched themselves into a new digital frontier, a private network outside of big tech control. New technology with state-of-the-art digital engagement and never-done-before security and privacy features that are now operational. With Quick's digital engagement, entertainment, communication, and commercial exchange will never be the same. We are QUX. Quicks. Advanced pre-release sales are limited to 3,000. Order now by visiting quicks.tv. Get yours now before they sell out. Be part of a brand new online experience that you control.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. And here we are at the America First Warehouse with all these terrific people. And here's Scott LoBaido, who has corrected me. It's only 3 minutes. He did that in 3 minutes. I don't know if, did all of you watch him do it? Was everybody here to watch him? He knows I've been watching him do it for years.
20 years you've been watching.
20 years, right? But I am still amazed. Like watching that was like the first time watching you do. I mean, it's amazing.
What I do is people don't understand. They think
Don't tell us your tricks.
I have to tell you the tricks. It's not a print. People think that it's a print. Is my mic up?
Yeah.
Is my mic up? People think that's just a print under that. That's a painting as well, and that takes me a while to do. So when people say, come on, do this, it only takes 3 minutes. The painting takes 3 minutes, but the other painting takes a lot longer. So, I just had to do it. I had to do it. It's great. I had to do it.
But you know what? This is like another very important time for us to have a Scott LoBaido. It was really important that we had him 9/11 and after, because he would go around, I don't know, he probably 24 hours a day doing paintings, and he's got a spirit that just, his paintings do it, but he himself has a spirit that lift people up. And now this country needs that, don't we? We need to be lifted up. We wake up every morning saying to ourselves, we can't believe that. I wake up in the morning, I can't believe this happened. I can't, when the woman that was going for the Supreme Court was asked, can you define a woman? And she said, no. I said, we're going to put her on the Supreme Court? She can't define a woman?
It's surreal. It's surreal.
But this guy, where does this tremendous, beautiful spirit of patriotism come from, Scott?
Thank you. Most people know in here by now, I mean, we've become such family, coming to this place, the America First Warehouse. Mm-hmm. Remember when you first walked in here? I remember I first walked in here a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, and I'm like, this is home.
Yeah.
We're home. Yeah. We're home. And then everybody's here has the same passion that I have, and it's the truth. It's the truth. But as you know, as an artist and somebody like you, there's very few of us that knew a long time ago that this insanity was coming down the pipeline. And we all used our different voices in different mediums. He used his voice, he used his skills and talent and passion. I mean, he proved what can happen in every city tomorrow, right? To fix a city that is in turmoil. And there's a lot of cities that are in turmoil. I want to say this, Mr. Mayor. This is the truth. I had an opportunity tonight. Mayor Adams was coming to Staten Island, and you all know how I've been fighting him with the migrant crisis. He was secretly coming to Staten Island tonight for this party, and everybody in Staten Island knows to give me the tip-off. And I was like, do I go and humiliate this guy, or did I come and relax and spend time with the greatest mayor of all time? So I'm here. Anyway, he wound up canceling, so I'm here
I
anyway.
was wondering if we could still make the party. We could all go. We'll get a couple of buses. You know the thing about Mayor Adams that intimidates me? In 1994, or 1993, he actually gave the date. God told him he'd run for mayor. Now, I was running for mayor in 1993, and God did not talk to me. I talked to him a lot, like, please, God, can I win? But he never said anything. But this guy talks to God. He's Gandhi. Did you know he was Gandhi?
Gandhi speaks to God. Yeah.
Is he, let's talk like we really are. Is he like wacky?
No, he's an idiot.
He's a narcissist. He is the epitome of a narcissist. That's exactly what he is.
See, big word, he's the narcissist.
He thinks who he is. I mean, I had communication with him. Remember the whole Pizzagate, as you remember? And he invited me to City Hall to sit with him and to professionally discuss this insanity, these regulations, shutting down pizzeria. So we were texting. He called me, he texted me, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to meet you. And months went by, and then I finally said, listen, why aren't you meeting me? You have a lot of bad baggage behind. And I said, excuse me, you call yourself a New Yorker, you work out way too much when you should be doing stuff. Just because you got big muscles and a fancy suit on does not make you a man, and it doesn't make you a New Yorker. And I said that to him. And look what he's doing to this city. He's not a New Yorker.
He's very subtle. It's hard to tell what he's thinking, right?
And I'm being good.
A man with no plan? I like that.
Swagger man with
very
no, that's
good.
what Curtis calls him.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Swagger man with no plan.
Curtis really drives him nuts. Curtis gets under his skin big time. You get him, because I'm on radio with, I go on right after Greg Kelly, and Curtis is around all the time. He's all making trouble. And the two of them together despise Adams. So Greg despises him because Adams called his father, Commissioner Kelly, a liar, which is totally ridiculous. I mean, Commissioner Kelly is honest as the day is long. He wasn't even my police commissioner. I'll tell you, he's one of the best police commissioners in New York history.
Absolutely.
He also was 1 year ahead of me at Manhattan College. So I do love him. He's a great guy. But so the two of them really, they go into stuff about Adams. I don't even know if it's true because, when Curtis gets going.
Yeah. I was with him Thursday night. Last night, we had another big rally in Staten Island at St. John's Villa, and Curtis comes to all the rallies.
Curtis is dead set on that. When I was going to go get arrested in Atlanta, I asked Curtis for instructions because he's been arrested 81 times. I said, what do you do? I've arrested a lot of people, but I never got arrested. I said, what do you do when you get arrested? He said, be nice to everybody. I said, okay. Do you know, first of all, they did this on purpose. So instead of going to the court and getting fingerprinted and photographed, which is what we do in New York, right? You go to the prison. And the prison is under federal supervision because it's so bad. People are getting killed in there left and right. And they make you walk like half a mile through the prison to get to the place where you're going to be fingerprinted and photographed. So you walk past two groups of prisoners, some that are getting ready to go to court and some that have come back from court. So I wondered how these guys going to, I put a lot of prisoners in jail, like about 5,000.
Yes, you did.
But it was, thank God it was a long time ago. I go past them. They start doing, they must be like mostly from New York. They start yelling, Rudy, 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 yeah, yeah. Stick it up there. Let her have it. She's a bum. No. That's the first group. The second group yelling and screaming, going crazy. And I was thinking of like turning around and going, but then I thought, oh God, they'll get a picture of that.
That's all you
They'll
need.
say I'm encouraging an insurrection.
That's all
I'm
you
trying
need.
to overthrow the government.
In the jail.
Yeah, and I'm trying to overthrow the jail. So I just try to keep like a straight face. And then I was debating what to look like. I mean, that Trump face. Man, that scares my little granddaughter. I decided I would just look serious. Like, I didn't want to smile. I thought if you smiled, it would look stupid.
No
You
smile.
shouldn't smile for an arrest.
I've been arrested a lot of times. No
You've been
smiling.
arrested a lot of times. It was weird kind of getting arrested after all the cases.
The irony.
Yeah. And I was arrested. I was arrested for a very, very serious crime. It is a crime, being a lawyer. Everything I'm charged with has to do with my representing him as his lawyer.
It's a bunch of BS.
That's the nicest thing you could say about it. Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's a plot, really, to try to take him out. They don't know how to beat him. And they like to tell you, oh, they really want him to be nominated instead of somebody else. Meanwhile, he's beating Biden by 10%. And you know it's not. If it's 10%, make it 15.
Yep, 100%. Yep.
And if he's 5 points behind, he's 2 points ahead.
Yep.
If he's 8 points behind, we're even. I know that. I mean, I was with him. I spent 4 months with him, virtually 24 hours a day in 16, in order to, my job was to control him. I did a great job. I was supposed to get him to cut down his tweeting.
Yeah.
Want to hear a great story?
Yes.
So one night, this was the time we were getting in trouble. What were we tweeting about? We were tweeting about that the guy who lost his son, the Muslim guy who lost his son. The president was being very insensitive. And it was a Friday night, and Jared was going off because it was the holiday. And he said, Mayor, this is your first week with us, and I'm eventually going to have you do this. But why don't you? I always take sensitive times. I take all his phones and I keep them in my room. I said, he gives them to you? He said, yeah. I'll say, okay. I said, I used to call him Donald then because he wasn't president. And I knew him, my friend, for 30 years. I said, Donald, will you give me your phone? Big smile on his face. He says, absolutely, Rudy, sure. Reaches in his pocket, gives me this phone, gives me that phone, this phone, and that phone. Take the phones. I'm in the room next to his we were at his place in Miami, the Doral. And put him in. I go to sleep. Get a call about 6:30 in the morning from Jared, who's not supposed to make telephone calls during the Sabbath, right? But he breaks the rule and he makes a call. He says, did you get his phone? I said, yeah. Do you know what he tweeted out? No. He tweeted out something about whoever this person was that were making allegations about him. She was so ugly, he wouldn't even look at her. He said, you let him tweet that out? I said, I didn't let him tweet it out. I've got all his phones right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many did you have? 4. Okay. So I get dressed. I wait for him outside his room. He comes out. I said, Donald, you gave me your phones. He starts smiling. I said, you tweeted out that thing about that girl. He said, yeah. I said, you think I'm stupid enough to give you all my phones?
I figured that.
He said, that kid thinks he gets all my phones. I thought you were smart enough. You're smarter than that kid. You got to know I don't give up all my phones. And then I developed a different view of his tweeting. I thought it made him human. It's sure better, I used to say to people, it's sure better to have a president who communicates with us. Even maybe communicates with us things we don't agree with. Maybe even communicates things that we think are stupid, that he doesn't. We get to know what he's thinking. We get to know what he's like.
100%.
Meanwhile, we got
100%.
this guy sitting in the basement, his wife trying to feed him, all this stuff. We're not sure if he can even think.
Donald Trump, remember, everybody was upset. And I still get people like, I love Donald Trump, but I hate the way he tweets. I hated his tweets. And I said, no. He is just what he said. His fans, we're real people. We're not oversensitive snowflakes.
Right.
You understand? I mean, if you hear me speak, you follow me on my social media, I don't mince words.
We're New Yorkers.
We're New Yorkers, and Donald Trump is a New Yorker. And let me say one thing about Donald Trump. A lot of people say, he's got too much baggage, he's this and that. We need new blood. We need unity. We need somebody to get us back together. And I just stopped them. And I say, listen to me. We are in the worst position we've ever been.
Absolutely.
We've ever been. I mean, this is the end of the line. And the reason Donald Trump got elected is because the radical left, a long time ago, took it to the moon. I explain this all the time. In the 70s, we were a little more liberal.
Yeah.
60s, 70s, then in the 80s, we were a little more conservative, but we're always right here. We're not supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to have that discourse. But the left took it to the moon. That's how Donald Trump got elected. Because the middle America, the gears that keep this machine running, said no. They woke up and they're not going back to sleep ever. That's why Donald Trump won. And that's why he has to win again. We need him to bring it back down. As ugly tweets as they are, as loud as he is, as obnoxious as some people may think he is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's a funny guy, but he's the only man that could bring it back. DeSantis, I think he did great what he did with Florida. Honestly, a great man. But DeSantis is wet behind the ears, and you know that all of these candidates running for GOP will be eaten by the swamp. Donald Trump owns the swamp.
Yes.
We need Donald Trump to get this country back. Then DeSantis or Haley can get their 8 years, give this man the 4 years that he deserves back, and bring this guy back along with him, and Tom Homan, and me, and Curtis, and we're good.
You just scared the hell out of a lot of people. But Scott is absolutely right. I mean, when you have someone who's already done it, I mean, we know what things were like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. We weren't at war. We weren't supporting a war on the scale of the Ukraine. Our economy was wonderful. Minorities were making more money than ever before in their lives, Black and Hispanic. Everybody else was. We didn't have inflation, 2%. The price of gasoline didn't require you to take out a mortgage to fill up your tank. So we go back to that, and then every once in a while somebody gets annoyed about a tweet. At least we have something to talk about. I mean, and usually there's a lot of funny ones too.
Yeah.
And I love.
You cringe, but you're like, he's a human being. I want a president I can kind of relate to. That's all.
And I have to tell you, he's this whole idea, they would start with this, he's a mean guy. Mean? Ever take a look at Biden? Look what he did with his granddaughter. What kind of a creep disowns his granddaughter because she's illegitimate? I mean, and you think about this. And what about Jill? Jill won't put out a Christmas stocking for her now, and she's a teacher. So now I don't know. I supposedly don't know children the way a teacher does, but this is a little different than just any daughter. This little kid will grow up knowing that her grandfather was president of the United States, who basically disowned her. I don't think he still has met with her, and never mentions her name. I mean, tell me this doesn't do damage to this kid.
It shows the hypocrisy.
Tell me this doesn't do damage to this kid. And I'm going to tell you something, because I watched Donald Trump bring up all of his kids, and he watched me do the same thing. My son Andrew is closer to him than I am.
We love Andrew.
And in a million years, Donald Trump wouldn't do that. In a million years. And if one of his children did that, he'd slap him across the face and straighten him out. Because he's deep, he's a kind man. And he's a decent man. This guy has got to be some kind of a real weirdo to do that to his grandchildren. And then how about this hair sniffing? What is that hair sniffing about? With little girls, he sniffs hair. Big girls too, right?
Everybody.
Who the hell sniffs hair?
A creep.
I got to look that up. Is that some kind of a...
It's a pedophile trait.
No, I don't know what it is. We're going to look that up.
It's a fetish.
Is it really?
Some people like to smell feet. He likes to smell hair. I'm not saying anything. I'm just.
It is true. One guy
fetish.
whose name will not be mentioned because he's actually quite famous got in trouble for going to prostitutes for feet. Somebody heard about feet and fell. But I heard about feet. But I never heard about hair, smelling hair. That's creepy stuff.
Yeah.
And what about that other one where when he was a kid, he was a lifeguard. He used to put his legs in the pool, and he liked the little children touching his hair. He liked the little children touching his hair. Whack job.
Why would he say it out loud?
Whack job.
Corn pop. Is it a side-on or something? What is this?
So we are Ted and I are having kind of a mission on the side that we're following very, very closely. We're looking for corn pop. Because since Biden lies about everything, there must be another version of that story.
And he's also JJ Cool J. Remember that one? LL Cool J. He screwed that up, and then he called him boy. Listen. Let me.
I feel bad when I laugh at this.
Listen,
because it isn't funny, really.
It's not. That's what I was just about to say. It is actually sad.
But
when you see this guy fall, when you see him sniffing hair, he's not. Look, I'm going to be old soon. I might be sniffing hair. Who knows? But I'm not the president of the United States. It's not him. It's the people behind him. I'm really upset with his family.
You're going to start sniffing hair? Get the hell out of here.
Well, you're all right. You're safe.
I don't have any hair.
Exactly. But anyway, what really upset me was that his family. Jill apparently wanted to be first lady more than anything else. And they pushed this poor man. This man was in no shape to become the president. I don't think he really wanted to be the president, but his family pushed him. His son pushed him. His son, who is apparently an artist right now, $500,000 for a piece of garbage art. Not happening. You saw the painting I did of him. I had it here. I did a portrait of him, and I unveiled it in front of the gallery that he had his show. It's just all fake. They're all fake. They're hypocritical. They call themselves compassionate. They're not. If they were compassionate, they wouldn't be using these migrants as pawns. They're using them as pawns. I'm in Staten Island. It's a crap hole over there, what they're doing to these migrants. The one at Villa, I was there today. The fire engines were there. The sewers are apparently backing up. So not only does the community had it with this, these poor people, and again, they're not supposed to be here. We're a free nation, but we're a nation of laws. We all know the story. But for them to use them as pawns and call us inhumane, that we're anti-migrant, we're racist. No, we just want everything to be the way it's supposed to be. The system is broken. Fix the system. Like I always said, my mother, nobody was allowed in the house when it was a mess. When it was clean, the door was open. She'd send us out to get homeless people to come for dinner on Thanksgiving. And the door was open for the neighbors, anybody, our family. But if the house was a mess, the door was locked. We couldn't even come in the house. So the point is, clean this effing house, clean this mess, and then we will open up those borders and let them and welcome them in, because we are a nation of migrants. We want them here, but we want them to come through the system that made this country great, period.
So the reason The reason they're doing that is to destroy our nationality. So you have to read Soros, because he's the money behind all this. Soros hates American nationalism. He thinks American nationalism is very, very dangerous, very violent. I don't know what the hell he's doing here if he hates American nationalism. He wants to do away with our nationalism, so we'll be part of one world. So we'll meld in with those wonderful European countries and other countries, African countries, Asian countries. And, he can make a fortune and Obama can be the prince and the UN can tell us what to do. That's their dream. Where does that dream come from? It comes from Marxism. And whether they know it or not, that's what they are. They're communists. We now have a level of people that are dependent on the government, which would officially classify us as more socialist than half the socialist governments in the world. We don't like to think of it that way, but economically, we're becoming a socialist country. With their political fascism, they're making us politically a socialist country because the government is telling you what to do. I mean, just think about the whole issue with children. 30 years ago, 20 years ago, there was no doubt that parents were the ones that were responsible for children. Your kids were your kids. You've got to bring them up the way you wanted to, in your tradition, in your religion, in your non-religion. Now, the state takes over and decides the most sensitive questions about your children. So if your child, after being harassed 50 times about whether he is a boy or a girl, expresses the slightest doubt, who knows what's going to happen to that child? And in some states, and in increasing numbers of states, they don't have to tell the parents because the state knows better how to bring up your child than you do. Now, where does that idea come from? That idea is 150 years old. That's right at the beginning of Das Kapital. You got to get control of the children. You want to control the country, you want to control the world, you got to get control of the children. You also have to destroy a country's culture in order to turn it into a socialist country, a one world country. Why do you think they take down statues? Why do you think they try to rip us of all our heroes? Jefferson was a slaveholder. Washington was a slaveholder. Columbus, who the hell knew what Columbus did? It was, 800 years ago or 700 years ago. Columbus was whatever Columbus was. But they were all awful, and they also shared, and the worst thing of all, they were all white. And whites are inherently evil. That's being done to alienate you from your country. It's being done deliberately. Many of them know it. Some of them don't know. But this is the way they've been educated now without our really focusing on it for the last 20 or 30 years. This is what they teach at most universities. They come out Marxists. And America is just the opposite. They hate us for what we are. So we have a big job of winning it all back. And that's why we need someone who's going to turn it around on a dime. We don't have time for commissions and studies, and we've got to change it immediately. Look, you could control the border in 3 months. In 3 months, you could stop most of the illegal immigration and a good deal of the fentanyl that's coming in. You just take the Border Patrol and use them to stop people coming in rather than helping them to come in. And when Governor Abbott wants to put obstructions in the river, you help him do it. You help him put the obstructions in. And I would add one thing to what Scott says about immigration. I want people to come here from other countries, but I want people to come here and I know who they are. I don't want anybody to come to this country Right now, over 2 million people have come in under Biden. I'm not talking about the 4 million that we wrote down somewhere and they got paroled and they're running around. I'm talking about 2 million we never got to see. Because when the group comes in that we stop, the cartel right behind them brings a group in you never get to see. That's the group they get more money from. That's the group that's bringing in the fentanyl. That's the group that's bringing in the children for child prostitution. That's the ones that are bringing in the terrorists from ISIS. They're the ones who pay the big money. And they come in unobserved, not recorded. We don't have the slightest idea who the hell they are. And there are at minimum 2 million of them running around this country right now. And by the time this guy is finished with 4 years, there'll be about 4 or 5 million of them. And they've got to be the worst ones because those are the ones the cartels are making the big money on. The ones we're looking at are the distraction. Go chase after them, and then we bring the dangerous ones in that way. Now, you can stop that. You could stop that very, very easily by deploying your border patrol right across the border and push them back. Send them back. Go sit down with the president of Mexico and negotiate the agreement that Trump had that they get questioned in Mexico before they come here. For the right amount of money, he'll do it. He'll do anything for the right amount of money. I know him. I used to actually work for him, reducing crime in Mexico City. I got fired because crime went down too much. Seriously, by the president of Mexico. He got nervous. So this is a very, very, it makes me very nervous that so much rides on this election because I can't contemplate what will happen if we get 4 more years, probably if somebody even worse than him, because he's not making it for 4 more years. I don't think he makes it to the election, frankly. I've been telling people that for 2 years. I do not think he's going to be the candidate. First of all, at any moment, the lights could go out. He has a disease that's progressive. It gets worse. Every day you lose brain cells. And all of a sudden you lose enough brain cells, you don't know where you are, you don't know who you are, and you don't know what the hell you're saying. And he looks like he's pretty damn close to that. So whatever the Democratic Party wants to do or not do, God may intervene. And this guy just goes, Also, the number of criminal acts, even though they're doing everything they can to fight them off, they're starting to build up now. And you have more than a majority of the American people who believes now that he's a criminal. That's a lot of people considering the fact that they cut off all news about it. It's getting out. Yeah, we're the news. We get it out, and it's more effective than we think. So I think we're going to be running against somebody else. And that frightens me too, because I think we have him beat. And we'll run against somebody like Newsom, who will be worse than him, because Newsom is smart. I mean, this guy fouls a lot of things up because he's not with it. But you get a smart socialist, a smart communist, and my God. So we have to win this election. Stop it. Stop it. Stop the direction we're going in. Take the country back to being a democracy, a country of laws, a country that really treats people the same, Republicans and Democrats, a country that doesn't try to politically persecute. We can accomplish that, but you need somebody who is very strong-willed and is willing to just execute it without the usual political, we have to have a study committee, and we have to think about it. He's just got to do it. And you know Trump is the guy to do it. Like when DeSantis said it'll take more than 4 years to do it. I said to myself, pal, you don't know what you have to do. If it takes 4 years to do it, we lose. It's got to get done in a year. It's got to get done right away. It's got to get done immediately with no looking back, the way he did it in his first term, the way Ronald Reagan did it. The day Ronald Reagan became president, everybody in America looked at the world differently. And everybody in the world looked at America differently. You think about Ukraine, right? If we hadn't elected Biden, if we did elect him, right? All those people in Ukraine be alive today. How many people is that? 500,000? That's a lot of death. Because there's no way Putin would have invaded under Trump. Now, we know that, but let's see if we can prove it. Putin has invaded 3 times in the last 14 years. First time, Bush. Second time, Obama. Third time, Biden. When didn't he invade? Gee, there was one president in there where he didn't invade. His name was Trump. Why? Because he was scared of him. Because he's unpredictable. Because like Ronald Reagan, he knows how to do that because he's a leader. I took over a city that had had 2 major riots. One in Crown Heights and one in Washington Heights, and had a lot of little riots, and Al Sharpton was really running the city. The day I took over, I said, there's not going to be any riots. And then I made several speeches in the places where people would think about riots. And I said, you test me. It's my police department against you. Test me. Never had even anything close to a riot. If somebody threw a rock at a demonstration, I arrested them. If they spit in somebody's face, I arrested them. I didn't wait. I didn't wait for that to become like a conflagration. I stopped it at the earliest possible moment. And they knew they couldn't fool around with me. So we didn't have a riot for 20 years. The next riot we got was the next Democratic mayor that we had, de Blasio. So we need a leader. We need somebody who knows what they're doing. Trump has that. And we need you to help us, because this is going to be a person-to-person election. And where's Joe? I want to thank Joe. Before we go, I want my audience to meet the man who runs this place. This is fabulous. Thank you for having us.
We are so blessed to have you, Mr. Mayor. If you wouldn't mind, Alma Rivera is here, and she is a touched by God gospel singer and part of an evangelist. She'd like to pray with you, and if anybody would like to come and pray for our great mayor,
Well, we'll end the show that way. That's
Okay,
wonderful.
can we do that?
And we'll say good night to everyone. We'll 10 o'clock on Sunday, WABCRadio.com, Uncovering the Truth. We'll be back 8 o'clock on Monday. And have a great weekend, and God bless America.
God bless you.
Want me to stand?
Anybody want to pray with us up here?
Doesn't matter.
Come on up.
No, stay right there.
Stay down there. Stay down there.
Straight from there.
Oh. Whoa.
All right.
The Bible says,
No.
call to me and I will show you great and mighty things, great and unsearchable things. And I really believe, Mayor, that God is protecting you, and God has his hand over you. And I believe if you call upon him, he will answer you and he will speak to you. I believe because you can have that relationship with him directly. And I'm gonna pray for protection. I'm gonna pray for the hand of the Lord is over you right now. And I was reading this too. He says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. Father, In the name of Jesus, Lord, I declare your presence, Lord, over Mayor Giuliani. Father, you are the King of Kings and you are the Lord of Lords. And Father, in this moment, I speak a protection over his life, over his family, his children, his grandsons, his kids, Father, in the name of Jesus. And I speak, Lord, that no weapon against him is going to prosper. Not even with his family or entire family. I declare, Lord, that he can feel your presence like never before. That he can know, Lord, that you are with him. If he looks for you and if he runs after you, you're gonna show him things like he is gonna be surprised at what you can do in his life and through his life. Father, in the name of Jesus, I speak healing over his body in Jesus' name. Anything, Lord, that the enemy has come, Lord, with everything, Father, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus, and I cast out any sickness, any disease, Father, anything, Father. His heart, guard his heart, Lord. Protect his heart, Lord, in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for the peace, supernatural peace that you are putting in his heart right now. Thank you, Father, because I know that he's going to talk to you and you're going to talk to him back. He's going to listen, Lord. I bless him in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. I can feel it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You want to take these for me? Yes, yes. Here we are. And here.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.